Good morning, everybody. This is Dan Spots on behalf of the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Chamber's Community Affairs Weekly Forum. And our guest this morning is Karen Long, Executive Director of Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. And Karen, I'll leave it to you to explain the relationship with the other organizations, the nonprofits, Columbia Cascade and others. So with that, let's go around the table for organizational updates. I'm going to start with Mr. Roger Nichols at my upper left.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing going on in my life right now as a roving reporter is being on the Gorge Commission. Yesterday, we got an email from the chair saying they were canceling the meeting, the special meeting that we're going to have next Tuesday to vote on changes to the management plan that would make it easier for people who've been burned out by the fires. The reason given was that the tribes say they haven't had enough time to study it. Some of us who represent counties where they had disastrous fires were really upset about that because the tribes have had not one but two 30-day periods to respond. Two of the tribes haven't even commented, and they're trying to slow down the process. The concern is over tribal artifacts, but these are rebuilding over almost exactly the same footprint, and that annoys the heck out of me. So we're going to be we did get the meeting reestablished, and we're going to have pretty good knockdown drag out next Tuesday. So yeah.
What time and where, Roger?
That starts at 8:30, and it's a Zoom call only. You have to go on the website to get the link for that, but it is available. And if you want to testify, you'll have to sign up at that time. Again, they're only doing Zoom meetings because of budgetary restraints, and I think we'll be telling the tribes that you're not the victim here. So, thank you.
Roger, if you have a chance to put a link to the Gorge Commission and everyone on the meeting today, any links that you'd like to include in the chat box, please go ahead and do so.
I'll do that. Yeah.
All right, Roger. Thank you for that update. Good luck. Trish Neal.
Good morning. I'm Trish Neal. I am a Legal Shield associate for 18 years. I provide legal plans and ID Shield for individuals, families, and business owners, and I also offer those same services at a discount for employee benefits. So I will put my contact information in the chat, but I enjoy being here.
Always appreciate you joining in from Alaska, Trish. Thank you. Corliss Marsh.
Morning, everyone. Corliss Marsh. I'm with Habitat for Humanity in the library and the senior center. No updates.
All righty. Thank you, Corliss. Mr. Brian Tuck, welcome back, sir.
Well, thank you. Brian Tuck retired. And Scott, I enjoyed your article about memory and about keeping things on the tip of your tongue. And what was your name again? So thanks for doing that, Scott. Makes me feel better.
You know the feeling. Julie Reynolds.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Julie Reynolds. My main activities these days are Fort Dalles Museum Commission and the Planning Commission for the historic St. Paul's Chapel downtown at 5th and Union. And I just wanted to report, we're having so much fun at the chapel. We're getting lots of activities. And last Friday, we had a wonderful concert called Winter Songs. Catherine Clare and her two accompanists gave this beautiful concert in the chapel and loved the acoustics. So we're getting lots of interest in chapel use, for which I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Excellent. Good news, Julie. Good news. If anybody doesn't have Victor Johnson's contact information to keep in touch with events like that, I'll put his email in the chat box myself. Or Julie, you're welcome to do so too.
Thank you.
Scott McKay, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Scott McKay, volunteer for Circles of Care and a member of the Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation board. And Brian, if you can't just think of that tip of the tongue word, just relax and go, and then you may lose some friends, but you might think of the word. So thank you.
Dave Peters.
Good morning, everybody. Dave Peters, Columbia Cascade Housing, Mid-Columbia Housing, and I will defer to Karen to talk today. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Mr. Mike Wackerser.
Hi, I'm with the Kiwanis Club and Fort Dalles Museum. The Kiwanis Club today is going to be ringing bells for Salvation Army, and we are doing backpack program this month. So that's Thursdays at 9 o'clock at the food bank. And I believe Fort Dalles Museum is going to start opening for 3 days a week. I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday in January, limited hours from 11 to 4. And if you want to hear Julie and her sister sing Christmas carols, 10 o'clock at the
Thanks,
at
Mike.
the liquor
Go for it,
store.
Mike. Go ahead. Let's have those details. Come on.
Liquor store. Julie and her sisters were quite the singers when they were younger, shall we say. They sang like at the county fair and things like that.
I'm sure they still are.
Yeah, yes. And also Roger will be talking about the Gorge Commission the 8th of January at the Kiwanis Club meeting at 12 o'clock at Spookies.
And Roger will also be our guest on Community Affairs next week, next Thursday on the Gorge Commission. All right. Thank you, Mike. Leslie Naramore. Good morning, Leslie.
Morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Leslie Naramore. I'm the Executive Director of Mid-Columbia Community Action Council. And I do have just a couple of updates that I wanted to share today. The first thing is around the Rowena fire. We have rehoused 25 households at this point. And then in my work with the long-term recovery group, we're about to start holding an unmet needs roundtable, and that's where the funds from United Way will be distributed. So if you're aware of people who are affected by the fire, please let them know that they need to be hooked up with a recovery coordinator. And that's how they get their case to the unmet needs roundtable. And then that's how those funds get distributed. And then the second thing that I wanted to share is at the Annex, which is downtown the Dalles, we're about to start unit conversion. That work has actually started. We're going to be turning 21 of those units into permanent supportive housing. So if you see work happening downtown at the Annex, that's what that is. And we'll be putting out a press release soon that will have a lot more information about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, and good work on the recovery, Rowena. Leslie, please be sure to put your information, if you haven't already, in the chat box, and I need to open up the chat here to track that. Thank you, Leslie, very much. Councillor Richardson.
Good morning, Dan Richardson, City Council of the Dalles. I don't want to steal Jacob Anderson's thunder, so I will keep it as brief as possible. And I don't know Jake, what you were going to mention, but in case it were going to slip your mind, I would say we are at long last moving forward on a couple of big downtown construction projects or rehab projects, including First Street. So it will be a busy, exciting, and upgrading year and a half or 2 years of construction work in the sort of north end of our downtown.
I look forward to seeing that, Dan. And that's a good segue to Jacob Anderson, my lower left-hand corner. Go for it, Jacob.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jacob Anderson. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Leave that.
No, still feedback.
Hopefully,
Hey, Jacob, I'm going to turn it over to Phil, and then I will come right back to you. Commissioner Brady.
Good morning, Phil Brady, Wasco County Commissioner. Three things. One is the second stage of cleanup is happening on the Rowena group that's going in, scraping up all the ash and debris that's been contaminated by the other fire products that burn in our houses. Second is the Humane Society, which is from the dog shelter, is considering going on to an election for a small tax base. I think a dime for dogs. I like that. looking for some people who would be interested in leading up that campaign, leading up the election campaign. So if you know somebody, let them, you could talk to me. And speaking of talking to me, I'm going to pop into the chat my new email domain at the county. We're changing to a .gov domain. There's more security on .gov domains.
Indeed. I didn't know that you were not on a .gov domain already. Good to
No.
know. Good to know. Thank you, Phil. We have a Paula joining us. Paula M.
Good morning. I'm Paula Maiden, and I work with Karen and Dave at Columbia Cascade and the Housing Authority.
All right. Thank you for joining us this morning, Paula. And Hank. Hello, Hank. Are you there?
Hey guys, hey, I'm here. Just listening. I'm just listening, just a community member listening along.
Appreciate your joining, Hank. Let's go back to Mr. Jake Anderson, EDO for the city.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jacob Anderson, Economic Development Officer for the city. We are transitioning over this last Monday to .gov as well. So if you're sending anyone an email, our old emails will work for a time, but our new tagline is thedals.gov. So no more hash marks or anything else. We do have those downtown projects that Councilor Richardson was talking about, the First Street, as well as Federal Street are going to be going this year, but we also have the Interceptor project that is downtown as well, and those projects are all going to have to work together. So there's going to be quite a bit of work going on downtown this coming spring. The Councilor Richardson voted on Monday to accept the First Street project, and that came in over $1 million under budget, which is great for urban renewal because that's urban renewal's dollars. And then on Monday, the council also passed the dog ordinance that's been in discussion for many generations almost. And the final one that I wanted to give an update on is today is the national opening of the T-Mobile hometown grants, and I wanted to let everyone know that the Dalles was selected as one of the recipients, one of 25 recipients out of over 900 applicants for the hometown grants. And what we're going to be doing with that is putting a shade structure up in the new Federal Street Plaza. So on those hot summer days, you'll be able to get out of the heat a little bit. And we'll be having the check ceremony and celebration Tuesday at noon at Spookies. So if anybody would like to come.
That is wonderful news on all of that, Jacob. What a transformation downtown coming right up. Good to know. Good to know. Roger, you have your hand up.
Yeah, quick question for Jake, and that is the city website changing from .org to .gov? Because that's a biggie.
No, not that I have been aware of. We've got a lot of IT projects over the next couple of years, but as of right now, just getting our email switched over was a Herculean task.
Great, thank you.
Between the city and the county, I'm going to have about 1,000 emails to update. I'm going to have to learn how to do that. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Phil, for both those updates. All right, folks, with that, I don't believe that I've missed anybody. I'm going to turn this over to Karen Long, our guest this morning, representing Mid-Columbia Housing Authority, Executive Director there. Karen, take it away.
Great.
We have your screen share now, Karen.
Oh, great. My name is Karen Long. I'm the Executive Director at Mid-Columbia Housing Authority and Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation. Our organizations serve the housing needs of low-income households in 5 counties, Hood River, Wasco, Sherman, Klickitat, and Skamania counties. We have 4 ways that we serve the community. We provide federal rental assistance programs. We have several asset building and resident services programs. We develop, manage, preserve, and build affordable housing units. And we also have several homeownership programs and resources available to people. Our rental assistance program, sometimes in the community, it's called Section 8. Sometimes people just call it HUD. The official name is the Housing Choice Voucher Program. This is federal funding that comes down from HUD. It provides about $750,000 per month directly to landlords in the community on behalf of about 900 households. About a third of the people we serve are elderly, about a third are disabled, and about a third are working families with children. The way the program works is that the household pays the rent based on their income. So the household will pay 30% of their income toward the rent, and then the housing authority will also make a payment directly to the landlord. In addition to the voucher programs, we have asset building and resident services. The main point being helping people who receive vouchers or who live at our properties, connect them to services with a focus on self-sufficiency or helping people move from public assistance to not needing public assistance anymore. We have a program called the Family Self-Sufficiency Program that's available to people on our voucher programs. As I mentioned, that people pay 30% of their income towards rent. So as their income increases, their portion of rent also increases. But if they're enrolled in this program, say their portion of rent goes up by $100, we place $100 into a savings account called an escrow account for them. And at the end of the program, as long as they are working and have met all of their goals, they get the money that was in that account. And they use it for whatever they want. I think we've had someone recently that received a check for $25,000. So it can be a really big asset for people. And we've had a lot of people use it in connection to other programs for a down payment and from housing assistance to homeownership. We also participate in the Columbia Gorge Health Council's Bridges to Health Pathways program. We found about, 8 years ago now that we have very complicated programs and we had a lot of people who were falling through the cracks. And so we have 2 community health workers on staff who work with people with vouchers to help them find housing, making sure that they're staying stably housed. There's a lot of work to keep housing assistance, lots of inspections, a ton of paperwork. And so we just have staff here to make sure that everyone is being best served. We also have several financial education classes that we offer on dealing with debt, building credit, just basic budgeting classes. We noticed that a lot of the households that we serve needed this type of help, and we didn't see anyone else in the community doing it. And so we stepped up and we've been offering this for probably about a decade. We have about 100 to 150 people a year that attend those classes. We also have a program called the Valley Individual Development Account Program. It's a matched savings program where the household saves $1 and it's matched by $5. And they can use the money for specific assets that either homeownership, starting a small business, or towards education. Most of our households use it towards homeownership, and they can pair it with other programs to really have a sizable down payment to make homeownership a reality. Then we also partner with the Columbia Gorge Food Bank. We have a few shelves in our front office that are always full of food. We fill up every Tuesday and we usually run out by the end of the week. So that's been a great way to get more food out into the community. So the programs that I was talking about previously is really the work of Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. And we also have an affiliated nonprofit called Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation. It's a 501c3 that does all of our development. We currently have 24 properties in 435 units throughout the 5 counties. And we have 4 projects that are in various stages of development. We have assisted living facility that we're trying to get going for a number of years in White Salmon. That's our western Klickitat County property. Mariposa Village is a 130 unit development that's currently under construction in Hood River. It's on Rand Road. So if you're driving by on Cascade, you can look up Rand Road. Rand Road is by Taco Bell, for those who don't know. You can look up and really see there's some of the townhomes going up, and you can see the community building is being built. And then there's another structure that's being built. So we're really excited about that. Construction is in 2 phases. The first phase will be complete in July of 2026, and the second phase will be complete in January of 2027. So we'll start moving people in this summer, and that's a huge addition of affordable housing to our community. We're also working on a project here in the Dalles on Chenoweth Loop Road, and I have a separate slide on that, so I'll talk more about that in a minute here. And then we're also working on an acquisition rehab of Columbia View Apartments and Cascade Blocks. And so that's another line of our work. New construction is really important, so adding units to the community is really important, but preservation of the current affordable housing that we have is equally important. And Columbia View is one of those one of those projects that we're working on. So when we're building affordable housing, there's a period, it's called a period of affordability, that the housing is required based on the funding to stay affordable for between 30 and 60 years. And there are a lot of apartments around the community here in the Dalles and just in the whole gorge that were built in the 70s and 80s, that period of affordability is coming to an end. And so we want to work to make sure that we're working with the current owners, or sometimes the current owners just want to keep it affordable, but the ones that want to sell and get out of affordable housing, we want to make sure that we're there to help them keep it affordable, because we can build 100 units, but if we're losing 100 units elsewhere, we're not getting anywhere. So that's another important part of our work.
Karen, while you have this one slide up, I just wanted to congratulate you on the aesthetics, the beauty of all of these, the diversity and the design, the quality. Outstanding.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions so far? I'm kind of speeding through here.
I've been checking chat and I don't see any so far, Karen,
Okay.
but folks, please feel free to jump in.
Okay, our Chenoweth Loop development. We are actively working on developing 76 units on Chenoweth Loop Road. It's where the Westgate Market is currently located. It's across from New Pueblito, kind of behind Home Depot. It's going to be 56 units for families and 20 units targeted at veterans. The picture there, the kind of the front building that you see, that's going to be facing Chenoweth Loop Road. And then you can kind of see in the back that it's a U-shaped building. So there's a courtyard in the middle that going to have some community gardens, a playground, and just some kind of nice walking paths with nice trees and gardens, just kind of a peaceful place. We will have enough parking on site. There are going to be 87 parking spots that kind of wrap around the building. The total project cost right now is $47.5 million, which sounds very expensive. And I can talk a little bit about why affordable housing is so expensive if anyone's interested. But I think that, we can say it's so expensive, or I think that another perspective is that this is a $47.5 million investment into the Dalles. And I think that that's something that is really exciting. This is
on the side of the old Westgate Market, which is a big vacant building right now.
Right. We were recently afforded our final piece of public funding, which means that it's a green light and it's gonna be happening. We are going to close on financing and start construction in late summer and early fall of 2026. The bottom floor will have some offices and a community room. The offices will have an on-site resident services coordinator, and that person will be available to all of the residents with the primary focus of keeping people stably housed. And so if people start having issues with their neighbors or if they're starting to get behind on rent, then the resident services coordinator can connect them to people in the community to make sure that we're making sure that their needs are met.
Karen, you had mentioned, oh no, so you just answered Phil's question in the chat. Please disregard. Go ahead.
Okay. And then we are also working with Mid-Columbia Center for Living and Mid-Columbia Community Action Council. They're also going to have offices on site to provide services for residents. We are trying to come up with a name. It will not be called Chenoweth Loop Road Development. We're going to have some names. So if anyone has any suggestions for us, we're open to suggestions from the community. It's really hard to name a building. Any questions on this?
It is going to be so nice to have that new addition on the west side of the Dalles. Excellent use of that site.
It's much needed. We have very long waiting lists at the permit communities we have here in the Dalles, and we have long waiting lists on our Housing Choice Voucher programs. Yeah, is there a question?
Karen, how can you explain a little bit how the costs have got up to 47.5 million?
Sure. So affordable housing is extremely expensive for a lot of reasons. The funding structure that we use is we access something called the Low Income Housing Tax Credit, or LIHTC. It's a very complicated financing structure that adds a lot of legal and financing fees on top of what a for-profit developer would be required to do. We also have a lot of added funder requirements, like the size of units have to be a certain size. We have to have a certain amount of money in our savings account or in our reserve account, over $1 million, much more than a private developer would be required to do. We also have several sustainability certifications that we have to go through. We have environmental reviews that we have to do, and all of this adds to the cost of the project. And it also creates a longer timeline. And so that's just, you're adding more staff costs, because I think we started working on this project at least 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more. We also have federal funding attached to this. And so that triggers prevailing wage, meaning that we have to pay a higher cost. Well, it actually triggers something called Davis-Bacon, which is a federal prevailing wage. We have to pay the construction workers a living wage, so a lot higher than is required in private development that does not have public funding. We are building this to last for 60 years, and so we are using more expensive materials when we're building, because we use solid stone countertops. We use really solid, high quality cabinets, things that are not going to have to be ripped out and reinstalled after every tenant moves, which is, we want things that last. We want the building to look nice and last and be an asset to the community. We are also building 2 and 3 bedroom units, and it's just simply more expensive to build a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom unit versus a 1-bedroom unit, which is how a lot of builders keep their costs down. They build smaller size units. What else? We have an on-site resident services coordinator. We have an on-site property managers. We have staff on site there to support the residents. So those are all of the reasons why it is way more expensive to build affordable housing than it is to just build market rate housing. And I'm probably forgetting a lot of things as well, but that was just kind of a brief overview of why it's so expensive.
Karen, Phil has a question.
Yes.
Karen, I agree. I'm on the board of Columbia Housing Authority, so I've been watching the patience with which this has come. It was refresh my memory, was funding was turned down 2 years ago. It seems like losing track of how many years ago, but we've kept at it and kept tried again. The other thing I want to comment is the location for this is fabulous. It's right next to the Transit Center. It's just a couple blocks from Chenoweth campus for education, both the elementary and perhaps a high school someday. So this is just perfect placement for, as they say in real estate, the location.
And I would add a personal note on that one too. If we can ever develop the early learning center at the former middle school, which is right up the street. We haven't given up on that one by any means. I know the ESD has not. Karen, go ahead.
Okay. Unless there's any other questions on this one, I think I'll just move ahead and talk about some of our homeownership programs. I should put Dave on the spot and make him talk about this. Dave has been here for 29 years, and we're very grateful for him leading these programs for all those years. In addition to everything else we talked about, or I talked about, we have several homeownership programs. We offer an ABCs of home buying class. It's a class available to first-time home buyers to just help them understand the process and what's needed to buy a home. After someone takes the class, we also have one-on-one homeownership counseling available in both English and Spanish. We have down payment assistance listed here, but unfortunately, the state of Oregon has stopped funding that program just this year. And so we do have a tiny bit of funding left over from prior years, but that program is probably going to be going away soon, hopefully temporarily, and Oregon can bring it back. We also offer foreclosure avoidance program and one-on-one foreclosure prevention counseling. And we have some home repair programs that has a 0% interest loan that doesn't have to be paid back until the home sells. And a lot of people access the home repair program to make improvements to their home, like handlebars or other things to keep older adults in their home longer. And then we also, kind of a new program for us, relatively new, is our community land trust model. So we're trying to get into community land trusts, which is a way to make homeownership more affordable to the lower or moderate income households. Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation would retain ownership of the land, and then the home buyer is buying the improvements or the home on top of the land. We have a 99-year lease with the homeowner, and there are some restrictions on the amount of equity they can earn by the time, when they're selling their home. It's usually capped at 1.5% per year, but this is a new program for us, so we're still kind of ironing out all the details, so don't quote me on that. But the homeowner is very clear, we're very clear with all of the homeowners up front, or we will be, that the equity is capped and they know that, they're getting into this homeownership in this community land trust model with the goal of someday also selling their home to another first-time home buyer who would not otherwise be able to get into the homeownership world. We have 3 properties right now that we're working on. We have one in Carson, Washington, where we're going to be hopefully building 14 homes. We applied to the state of Washington for funding. We should hear back here in about 2 weeks. So we might have an exciting update on that soon. We have a lot here in the Dalles that I have a slide on that I'll talk about here in a second. And then we have 10 lots in White Salmon. And I see Dave has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we actually are going to, one of the steps is they actually will talk to we'll have some recommendations, but an attorney about what they're getting into as far as the equity limitations and that it's not the normal quote, standard homeownership, but we do want to make sure they know what they're getting into. So that's going to be a step, and that's common with community land trust to have that step.
A question I would have on land trusts, should the underlying property be publicly owned? My understanding is that the development itself is private and actually contributes to the tax base of the community then. Is that?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll pay taxes on the house structure part.
Right. Good.
And CCHC also pays taxes.
Yes, indeed. Good.
Uh,
That's a lot. Karen, go ahead. Go ahead. This is fascinating.
Yeah. What was one other point? Oh, to Dave's point about the equity, we've been receiving a lot of training on it, and this model it's new to our community, but it's not new to the Pacific Northwest or to Oregon or to Washington. And we heard from other organizations doing the land trust model, and a question was asked of, do people get upset when they go to sell their home and maybe they forgot, or maybe they're just upset because other people are earning more equity? And a lot of people who had worked with hundreds of households said only one person was ever upset. And so I think it's people know going into it what they're getting into, and they want that home to go to the next household. Okay. So the property that we have here in the Dalles that we hope to have a community land trust model on is at 310 West 10th Street. You can see the rendering there. We're planning to do 2 duplexes on the lot. So it's more of like a townhome, 2 duplexes of townhomes. The slide goes over a little bit of the details that I already went over. But another thing is that even though they're owning their home and we're kind of pull back and our only involvement is retaining ownership of the land, we're also still going to be here if they start to run into trouble making their payments. We can provide the foreclosure prevention counseling. We can hopefully provide down payment assistance if that funding source comes back, and we can provide that continued support in homeownership counseling if that's needed. Do you have anything to add, Dave?
No, not really. I mean, you've covered it really well. It's a new to the area, but they've been doing this, I think, from the 70s. And we're using the national standard lease agreement, or rent agreement. So it's new-ish for the area. There is Proud Grounds, another one in the area that just is starting. We're kind of running concurrently with the developments of things that they maybe are serving a slightly higher income level. But yeah, it's going to be a good program. And I think once it builds, it's going to be exciting to see some homes. We hope to be, throughout all the 5 counties eventually.
My understanding is this can take place on other public property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just using a model, the community land trust model, and it could be replicated anywhere. The homes are going to be targeted at households that make 80% of area median income, which in Wasco County, a family of 4 making 80% of area median income is making about $73,000 a year. A family of 2, they're making about $58,000 a year. So it's really targeted at households that are working households that just cannot afford. I mean, you all know how the housing market has just skyrocketed, and it's just really not a reality for a lot of first-time home buyers or people, families just starting out. And so this is kind of bringing back that starter home option for people.
Karen, is that 80% a upper limit or is it a range?
We're still kind of building the program, and we've talked about going beyond 80%, but typically our organization serves 80% of area median income households and below.
Okay.
That's considered low income.
Yeah, just add down, they do have to get a loan, so they are going to have to earn more than 20-30% just by default. We would love to serve them, and we have down payment that might allow some of those people, at times we have down payment, but it's going to be people probably towards the upper end of that 80%. Our rules, as Karen mentioned, does allow us to go up to 100% AMI, but our target's definitely going to be 80%, as we move forward.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great point, David. These home buyers still have to qualify with a private mortgage, and have a good credit score and have down payment assistance, down payment saved. So it's just like anyone buying a home. It's just we're bringing down the cost by owning the land.
Thank you. Good to know.
May I pop in for a question, Dan?
Go for it, Dan.
Thanks, and I will just transparency say I'm a new member on the Columbia Cascade board, so I'm definitely appreciating Karen and company's work. Thank you, and thank you for being here this morning, Karen. I guess for both Karen and Dave and whomever, finding myself in sort of the sandwich of generations at this moment in my life, where I have my kid who's in a couple of years maybe going to be thinking about starter homes, and my folks may be thinking about downsizing, or at least a lot of people in their age bracket thinking about that. I do wonder if you guys have any perspective on the scale of need for both starter and, I don't know what the other end of the spectrum is, downsizing, aging in place homes in the Dalles. Like, this is a great and creative model. How many do you think we as a community should really be thinking about trying to implement or build?
That's a great question.
And I would add to that one, thinking in terms, excellent question, Dan, not only the demographics of the Dalles itself, but think of us as a regional center for affordable housing. You look at White Salmon, Hood River, it's crazy out there, these prices.
Yeah, I don't remember the numbers, but the Dalles recently did a housing needs survey, and it was hundreds, if not thousands, over the next few years are needed. So we're going to do our best. But I think part of your question with Dan might have been size. And yes, we will eventually, I'm sure, have some one bedroom options. Mostly we're going to be doing 2 and 3. It just works, and it's bigger families, higher income. The income limits are based on family size, so larger ones allow that to be a little higher. But I'm sure in the future, Karen's going to be doing some one bedrooms and stuff occasionally.
Yeah,
thank you guys for your work.
This is just kind of the start. So this will add 4 more units here in the Dalles, but it is also a matter of finding land. Right, there has to be available land for us to build on, and single family homes take up a lot more room than multifamily. And so that's something that we're always looking at as well.
We have a question from Jake. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, the city of the Dalles did the housing production strategy in 2024. It finished up the beginning of 2025, and what it shows is we need 500 new units in the next 20 years. And so when you look at the Chenoweth Loop project, and you look at if Basalt Commons goes, we're going to be getting close to the 500 units in the course of 5 years, not 20 years.
I know that is taking into account a population increase projection from, I think, PSU Population Center, which I think there might be some underestimates associated statewide with PSU. I've been hearing a little bit of pushback on some of those projections that maybe they're a little conservative. I don't know if that's still an issue or not, Jake.
Yeah, they may be a little conservative, but what they're looking back is 20 years at the growth rate of the Dells and saying if we continue growing at this rate, that's what we need. If there's big industry that comes to town or something else, economic development, that can all change, but it's looking at that range. But 500, I would say, is on the lower end. And then you have to break out within there how many are going to be rentals, how many are going to be homes. But what I'm working on doing is putting a link to that housing production strategy in the chat.
Thank you, Jake. Can I see that, Phil, you have a question?
Karen, I could wait to this. Do you have a few more slides to go?
I don't. This is my last slide.
Okay.
For
I'd like
second
to
one.
expand the discussion and bring in Leslie here as well. I'm going to prompt her thoughts on this. I had a constituent write to me in forceful terms asking what were you doing about houselessness and posing the problem, which is the root cause? Is it mental illness or substance abuse? And I responded back that those are problems, but it's housing is the cause. Because if you think back, those of us who are old enough, I remember myself, we had mental illness and we had substance abuse, but we didn't have houselessness because a person, even if they were suffering from one or the other, could afford their rent. And now, as rent costs have increased because of scarcity, it puts a person out on the street and they become their condition deteriorates rapidly. So the housing that we're talking about today is not that lowest of low, but it will allow people to move from their rents up into this low income housing and free up more housing at the base level.
Thank you, Phil. Leslie, if you have any follow-up on that one from your perspective, not to put you on the spot, but
Sure. I absolutely agree, right? Like we're kind of stuck in this perfect cycle right now. And housing is the way to get out of it. And it's housing at all levels because, people's situations change. And so if they're ready to move on, but there's nowhere for them to move on to, then they're holding up that unit for somebody else. So I absolutely agree with what Phil said. And I'm just so thankful that Karen and her team are doing the work to make more housing.
Karen, this is a really impressive. I knew of some of these programs. There are so many other things that you're doing that I was not aware of, and I think it's probably been news to a lot of folks on the call. Other questions for Karen or for Dave? Dave, while we have you before you retire, darn it, but it sounds like not at this point. Well, Karen, it sounds like you covered the base. Thank you.
Yeah, I put my contact information in the chat. So if anyone has additional questions or you think of something tomorrow, feel free to email me or give me a call. I'm always happy to talk about our work and our housing. We have a lot of exciting things happening and we have a lot of really great staff on board. So yeah, thank you for having me today.
All right. Thank you, Karen. We appreciate you and Dave and your staff joining us this morning. And my thanks to everyone for participating in community affairs. We've still got about 10 minutes. I put a link in the chat to the Chamber of Commerce events calendar. It's holiday season, of course, and there are many, many activities taking place around the community. Christmas coming up, New Year's, so please take a look at the events calendar there. And I'll put on one other hat for One Community Health. We passed our budget last week. I know it's been 2 weeks ago now, and with changes in Medicaid coming down, it's going to be a problematic year. But One Community Health is in good financial shape. It's been a joy to join that board, and I'll have more updates on that one going forward. So, also anybody who's interested in the Hood River Bridge replacement, keep an eye on the Columbia Gorge news, next week there is a public workshop online taking place through next Friday, the 19th, talking about access, pedestrian bicycle access to the new bridge, which will be completed contingent on federal funding in 2031. That's the completion targeted date right now. Other news, activities, things going on around the community as we head into this last leg of the holiday season. Around the table? If not, I'm going to give you back about 8 minutes of your time this morning. Please join us next week, the 18th, Roger Nichols on the Gorge Commission, Rowena Recovery, a big, important topic. Everyone, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your week and weekend. On behalf of the chamber, signing off.